pashyadiha sakalam karunam samayadipate akilam karunam. Namaskaram. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram, Sadhguruji. Thank you so much for being here in Hyderabad. Thank you, Fiki, again for hosting this wonderful program and giving me an opportunity to be in conversation with a wonderful man out here. And welcome to Telangana.
Of a lesser intelligence.
No, just because today is about women, you don't have to say that. But anyway, welcome to Telangana, sir. Welcome to the youngest and most happening state of the country. We're very proud. Many things happening here in Hyderabad. Especially the current one with the GAS happening starting tomorrow. It's a wonderful time to be here. And thank you, Fiki, for being very, very supportive of all the initiatives. And once again, thank you for bringing in more magic to Hyderabad with Sadhguruji. Sadhguruji, I've watched many of your interviews, did a little bit of homework before I come here. But then I will definitely start from a basic question, which not only me, many people would probably want to understand. When you say you are a mystic, can you also do some magic?
Say, is it okay? The audio is okay? So the greatest problem that humanity is facing and suffering is that they're so absolutely involved and enamored and overwhelmed with their own psychological drama that they're completely missing the magic of creation that's happening everywhere. The psychological drama has become so big that your own thought and emotion and the physiological drama takes a certain amount of space, your own body. In this, the entire existence is gone somewhere. If you paid enough attention, every day there is magic all over the place. See, mud has become flower, the filth has become fragrance. Is this not magic? And every day, everywhere it's happening. Now what is most people's idea of magic? If I pull out a pigeon from my pocket right now, would you think it's magic? I can do this for you. If I do this, you'll have a bird and I'll have a shitty pocket. That's all that happens.
Well, the greater magic I was really hoping that you could do is, do something so wonderful and magical that all the men in this world would forever be changed about their perspective towards women.
You want to… Oh, this is why the government has funded the ISRO project of Mars, so that we can live on two separate planets. I think if I can say a few words, taking the risk of being among so many ladies and saying these things, already it's been declared we are of a lesser intelligence. See, yes, unfortunately, there have been long periods of exploitation of women across the world and even in this country. But you must understand, there was a time when in this country, women were not exploited by any means. They lived fabulous lives. You just look back and see. Do you see, for example, you see, whatever the remnants of these stories, we don't have a full picture of, let's say, Ramayana, Mahabharata, whatever you have. Do you see women going around in veils? Do you see women hiding? No. The queen sat on the king's lap in public. Yes? You see Shiva sitting and Parvati sitting on his lap. So, this was not a culture like that, but you must understand we have faced a little over 1,000 years of invasions. When invasions happen, they not only go for your gold, they also go for your wives and your daughters first. So, putting them behind, hiding them somewhere in grainages among sacks of grain became a normal thing. So, when 1,000 years of continuous invasions happen, the risk of keeping a woman out became a very wrong thing to do. So unfortunately, that's still continuing. I think we'll break through in the next coming generation. I think already we are breaking through in a big way. But we must understand we are only the second generation after independence. So, don't be in too much of a rush and make this one species into two. This Homo sapien is a single species. Unfortunately, in reaction to the past exploitations, we are trying to create two species. This is not going to work well either for men or for women in future. It's very important. The changes that we make in our society are not in reaction to the wrong things that have happened in the past. What is the right thing we want in future? We must focus on that consciously rather than simply reacting to the wrong things that have happened in the past.
True. So what Sadhguruji is basically saying, there's no magic, it's only logic to work towards solving women's problems.
There is magic there is magic also. See, the logic that we are employing is very rudimentary. If we stretch the logic into more subtler aspect, this is the significance of this culture, where we took logic to a point where it became an access to the mystical and the magical. In this culture, we have not seen logic versus magic. We saw stable logical background is a must for continued, sustained magic to happen in our life. If there is no stable logical foundation, your magic will be just a flash in the pan, it will not continue. If your logic is well established, then if you take your logic to a certain height, then you can make your life magical moment to moment, every moment of your life. For this to happen, you should not think in terms of fundamental logic about who is a man, who is a woman. Both of us are here because a man and woman came together. Or you still believe in the magic, somebody dropped you from heaven? I'm asking you. So, it is only a question of percentages, and it's for the well-being of humanity and the life that this has happened. So we must understand, first of all, grading everything by economic standards is a serious mistake. If you grade everything by economic standards, how much can you earn, how much can you provide? If this is the only standard of well-being, then believe me, you may have women in the world, but you will kill the feminine totally. It's very important. Becoming like this, if you want to be successful in the world, a woman should act like a man. This is complete surrender. This is slavery of the worst kind. It's very important we have feminine in equal proportions as masculinity to make this world beautiful and our lives beautiful. If you kill the feminine in the name of success, because our idea of success has become so rudimentary, we think how much money have you got, that's your success. If you do this, you will kill the feminine totally, because this is a gross world and you will bring marketplace into your mind and into your home will become a market. This is happening in the Western societies. When they're getting married, they're making a contract. When we divorce, who gets what? I'm saying, how much ugliness do you want in your life? How can two people be woven into one if we are calculating? When we're getting married itself, we're calculating. When we part, you will get the car, I will get the house. How do you live like this? What an ugly life to live. So don't take the marketplace home. This is what will happen if you make your standard of life purely economic.
Agreed. Since you've mentioned Mahabharata, Ramayana and all the scriptures, and also we've been speaking about
If I can correct that.
Please.
See, we should not misunderstand what is a scripture and what is a very organic way of writing our history. An epic is a historical document written in a lively form so that it's relevant to you all the time. See, right now, the modern way of… Western way of writing history is like this. This king came, he killed so many people, he did this, he did that, he died. And next one came, he did this, he did that, he died. What are you going to do with this? I'm saying 1,000 years ago, somebody lived or died, what does it matter to you? But when you read Ramayana, Mahabharata, these are live stories so that you can relate it to you even today. So this is genuinely learning from the past. Because the basis of being human is just this, that we can learn from somebody else's experience. All the nonsense need not happen to us. By seeing something is happening to somebody, we can learn. Maybe it happened 5,000 years ago, but we can still correct our lives by looking at what happened to them. So, historical documents written in a very organic way need not be mistaken for scriptures. There is nothing scriptural about Mahabharata or Ramayana, they're just stories. There is history which is written in a way that it'll always be relevant for people's lives.
Exactly, that is my point. Mahabharata, Ramayana, they are very, very relevant to our society. And when you look at Ramayana, the way Sita was treated, and when you look at Mahabharata, the way Draupadi was treated, these examples of women being treated by men the way they want to treat them, they have certainly left an imprint in the minds of Indian men. There's no doubt about that. Since you said these are the learnings that we take from the past, and we have dramatized them, put them in a very good way, and our grandfathers recite these poems, and these are day-to-day household stories. So my question to you, Sadhguruji, is, when you have to learn from these things, when you have been learning from these things from generations, Ramayana, Mahabharata and many more stories, how do we expect the current Indian man to not treat his wife like Sita or not treat his wife like Draupadi? He can simply go and bet her somewhere. He can simply leave her in the forest because somebody says something. I mean, for this generation, we truly want to understand how do you, unlearn these things that we have learned all our life. And how do you hit a refresh button and start all over again by looking at a woman as a respectable figure, as an individual, as a person living and some thinking in her? How do we teach this to our children? That is what I want to learn.
Let me ask the ladies, would they like to be treated like Sita? Let me put it in the right perspective. Suppose you were living in Uttar Pradesh, not today, 5,000 years ago, and a man came from Sri Lanka and kidnapped you. Would you like a man who will walk all the way to Sri Lanka to find you, or find a practical solution locally, because anyway he was king? I'm asking you, what kind of man do you want in your life? The man walked all the way, fought a battle, burned down a city to get back his wife. It's not a small thing.
But then he again gave her an Agni Pariksha, he didn't trust his wife.
So, we are taking these words literally. Agni Pariksha did not mean somebody has to enter the fire. It meant she was put through some test. Of course, because you're the king, everybody's looking at you as an ideal. How you behave, what you do is very important because the entire nation's life depends on you. Today, our biggest problem is this in the country. This is the Dhritarashtra syndrome from then to now, okay? So, he is setting an example in those days. It doesn't matter, she's pregnant, that means his sons are inside. For a king, his sons are important because it's an empire. But in spite of that, he sends her to the jungle because otherwise there's disruption in the country. You seeing this as a negative thing? I think we need such prime ministers and leaders in this country. No matter what, for the well-being of the nation, they will do what is needed.
Agreed. A leader has to sacrifice, no doubt. We would go to any length to sacrifice and send a message to the people. But this particular message is taken so literally by rest of his people that they treat their wives like that. You know, how relevant is that? Taking an example from the leader as he is and following and even adapting this to the modern times. You know, this is a genuine doubt many of us youngsters
Today, if we
feel
send
in
you
this
to a
country.
forest, that's called a safari holiday. No, I think this is being taken very literally. I must tell you this, I was in Nellore. I'm speaking to a large group of school students, over 7,000 school students are there. This little girl, 14-year-old girl, stands up and asks, Sadhguru, they are saying that Rama walked all the way from Ayodhya to Sri Lanka. Is it practical or is it just a story? I said, whoa. 14-year-old girl. Then I asked the same question. You are a young girl right now. You'll grow up and find a man. Do you want that kind of a man? If you get lost, no matter what, he will follow you and find you, or do you want a man who'll find local solutions for himself? Because it's not practical. Even this little girl knows what kind of man she wants. There's no question about it. So I'm saying, to misunderstand any event, you're always free. But to understand it is your business, isn't it? And making judgments on life that happened 5,000–6,000 years ago today from our standards here is completely off.
Yeah, that is the problem. So we don't have to literally take the message from all these epics but then move on. And Sadhguruji, we do generally, all the women in this generation and
that's why I
time.
corrected that thing, it's not a scripture. It is only a historical document. It's for us to learn, not for us to misinterpret.
Well, you have to interpret it anyway. But then women, Sadhguruji, we lead the houses in a good way. We take care of our family. We are naturally born leaders is what I believe. But then when you have to make yourself some space out there in the real world to become a leader, either in a corporate or a political circle, or any workplace that you are there in a formal working environment, there's a lot of barriers, a lot of glass ceilings that we see. And you frequently speak about these 3 L's, which would probably help the younger generation of women to make their space in these formal workplaces. Would you elaborate on that?
What is 3?
3 leadership secrets that you talk about for women all the time. Kindly enlighten us with.
Oh, I feel we are stretching the gender a little too much. As far as I'm concerned, whether somebody is a man or a woman is not even my concern. What somebody's got in their pants, what's my business about it? These things are relevant only in bathrooms and bedrooms. This should not be relevant anywhere else. Because you must understand, too much identification with gender essentially means you're identifying with your body parts. If you must identify with your body parts, if that's the only way you can live, why choose reproductive organs? At least choose the brains. Isn't it? Why are we constantly thinking, who is a man, who is a woman, who is… This is a fetish. Why are you even bothered whether somebody is a man or a woman? You don't have to even find out whether they're man or woman. Only for certain relationships it matters. Rest of the time, why does it matter, I'm asking? We are making too much out of it. By this, both genders will suffer.
True, but the whole society doesn't think like you and I. They don't say it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. Equal opportunity is still a challenge in our country, elsewhere as well. How do we work towards it, you and I like policy makers?
We must understand. Suppose a man here feels like having a baby, can he have? So wherever we can complain, we don't have equal opportunity. Biologically, we're designed to fulfill different aspects of nature. Why is one thing superior, another thing inferior? Simply because you are making economic activities the ultimate activity. This is the only problem. The fundamental problem is you are making economic activity as the greatest thing you can do. This is rubbish, this must go. Just making money is the most successful thing you can do in life. Let me tell you my own experience. I'm seeing where to start because my great-grandmother was a woman. And people thought she's a devil of a woman. Not because she did any evil to anybody, but she would laugh. If she laughed, the whole street shook. And she got married at the age of 14, and it was not child marriage, because she never was a child. A woman like that is not a child. And there was a norm in the society, till you get married, you cannot chew tobacco. If you get married, after that it's your choice. She exercised that choice on day one. And she lived to be 113 years of age. She buried her husband, she buried her children, she buried her grandchildren, a few great-grandchildren, and people said she's a devil, she's not dying. But I saw her only when she was over 100 years of age, and for a South Indian woman, she was very tall, and she had hair running beneath her knees when she was over 100, full hair. And she leaves her hair loose like that, and she comes to see the children when we go for vacations. And I saw her in all kinds of very fantastic situations. If you gave her breakfast, she would go and feed the ants, the sparrows, the squirrels. More than half of her breakfast would be gone this way. People would… there are self-appointed advisors who say, "You old woman, you will die, you're not eating anything." They all died. She lived, obviously she was doing something right. And then she would be sitting there, I'm like for a little over 4 years of age, I'm busy smashing the ants. But she feeds the ants, she sits there, tears are flowing down her eyes. She would never stop me from smashing my ants because she understood that is my nature right now. I have to smash these ants. If she tells me ants, this, I won't understand. But she just sat there, tears flowing from her eyes. I would just ask her, "Why are you so emotional about the ants?" She would laugh and say, "Someday you will know." It took me over 25 years to know what she was going through, and when people said, "You're not eating," she would say, "I'm already full." And actually she was nourished. Just watching these ants feed, the sparrows eat, she was fully nourished. Obviously she was doing something right. If somebody lives to be 113, they know what the hell this life is about, isn't it? What is… exactly have understood what is the nature of this body, what is the nature of human health, she must have understood, isn't it? All your nutritionists might not have figured it, but by feeding the ants, she lived. It took me over 20 years to figure that out. So, many things like this. For example, my mother, she did not earn a rupee in her life. But can we think of our life without her? Is it possible? But valuing people only for the money that they earn, you will make the entire world into your marketplace. Please don't do that. There are other values. See, simple things, I'm telling you, this is something I shared with a few people and somebody made a lot of things around this. When we traveled, my mother is always sitting and she's doing everything in the house. She's sewing and all the curtains and pillowcases, everything done by her. And if we travel, if we go and sleep somewhere else, if there's an empty pillowcase, she will say, "How will children sleep on empty pillowcases?" Right there, she will pull out her needle and thread and she will stitch one green little parrot or a flower. When I'm 3 years of age, I'm sleeping like this, half asleep, looking at this green parrot and falling asleep. Do you know the value of that? If you do not value that and you only count money, you're just stupid, okay? You're just stupid, you don't understand what makes human beings.
True, this sense of feminism should be there in both men and women is what we believe. But then when we are to really go out and get some things done, we really have to be there in the money-making part. We should be. Today's world is like that.
I'm not saying you should not be. I'm saying that should not be the value.
Very true. That should not be the value, and women are certainly never going to give up taking care of the children. For example, I am there. Whole day I'm working, running around, going to my constituency. I come back, make sure my children are tucked into bed very well, and then take care of them. That is innate to a woman. You know, we do everything else, but our primary focus is always on this family and taking care of children, what nature has given to us. But in today's world, in this competitive world where we want to go out and work, how do we make sure that the women who go out and work, they balance their life well? You know, spiritual leaders like you can certainly give them some practical understanding of how to, you know, be there and maintain their balance and be very well in a sense of spirituality also.
It's… this may not be good for certain industry, but it's very important that you said just now, men should also do this feminism. No, what we need is humanity. We don't need masculinism or feminism, we need human nature to evolve. If human nature evolves, women will naturally exhibit more feminine qualities, men will naturally exhibit more masculine qualities. There may be a little intermixing, some women may be more masculine, some men may be a little more feminine, that's not an issue. But the important thing is our humanity should overflow, not our masculinity or our femininity, because you're talking about skewing life. Don't skew life, we will pay for it after some time. It's important life comes up in a balanced manner. You must understand in this country, this is being demonstrated in 1,000 different ways. If you see in the culture and in a way in the world, the most masculine, athletic god that you can see is Shiva. But one half of him is woman, all right? Literally, one half of him is woman to clearly show in symbolism that you're a combination of the two. If you're not balanced between these two, you will become a very skewed life. Any skewed life, either this way or that way, you're going to pay the price after some time. So if women have to succeed in today's world, why are we always thinking of putting a woman into a man's world and asking her to succeed? Why don't we redesign the world a little bit, as it is suitable for all human beings? You must understand the world got designed like this at a certain time in history when, let us say, now so many ladies are sitting here, let us say it's 1,000 years ago. Many of them have traveled long distances and come, I'm sure. 1,000 years ago, you think so many of them would have traveled and come? They're coming here not because the society has become liberal, they're coming here because of technological means of transport. Yes or no? So technology has come, machine has overpowered the muscle. So now what matters is your success largely depends on your intelligence, not on your muscular strength. So now a level playing field is being created just now. Already don't jump the gun, let us continue to do this, gradually it'll anyway level out. But if you try to forcefully change things, you will see it'll create ugliness, and in the end, it is woman who loses out because there is a certain sensitivity that she needs in the society. If everything is run by rules, she will suffer. Hard rules. Man doesn't care, he will go on. But woman will suffer. It's very important a sensitive society is created, not just by law. Little sensitivity is needed. Law can be made ugly for the woman, yes? Law can be made very ugly. You took up Draupadi's example. This is what happened. They went by the word of the law and made it so ugly for her. If there was little sensitivity in that court, they would have said, this is not it, isn't it? But they went on debating dharma, dharma, adharma, and they said, okay, this is the law, and they interpreted it in 1,000 different ways and made her go through the disgraceful situation. So we must understand this. If sensitivity has to come, it is important that we restructure the situation itself, rather than trying to put a round thing into a square hole. It doesn't work like that. If you do that, there will be friction, there will be unnecessary sufferings. Every generation will suffer like this. It's very important we restructure the workspaces, because now so many women are beginning to go out and work. We need to change the external situation rather than women changing themselves like men and going out and being successful. We need to redesign the world, and that won't happen overnight. We need to pay attention to it. What is the requirement?
Sure. You have all modern societies. You have one or two, I believe, many centers in the USA also, which is termed to be most free and equal kind of a society. At least, that is what the outside world perceives.
No.
I know the stats are different, but that is what at least the outside world perceives. So have you seen any difference between men and women relation there in US and India? And do you believe that we should learn anything from the modern world? So, take it up into India, and maybe in policies, maybe in regular life, day-to-day issues. Do you believe anything positive that can be taken from their societies?
Because this is very important, because in many ways our idea of success has become United States. It's my interest… Why are you clapping your hand? I'm saying something bad. Then your idea of a leader is the president. I'm saying if that is your ideal, that's what you will produce in the end. So, this is very important. What is happening is, this is a culture which because women were seriously suppressed till… When did they get the franchise in United States? 70s, huh? Women?
60s, I think.
60s, late 60s, I think. So, seriously suppressed till then. In 1947 or 1950, when we got the republic, we did not even think twice whether women should have franchise or not. We just naturally went for it, because there was no such thought in our mind that women should not get it, because that never occurred to us, because in our lives they played equal role, may not be in the commercial space, but in various other aspects of life. Especially in agricultural communities, women played nearly equal role or more most of the time. So, you must understand this is not with any prejudice to any society. I've been watching this carefully. My engagement with the United States is at a certain level right now. What I see is, because of the physical freedom, and let me put it more directly, because physical freedom is understood as sexual liberation, okay? Because of this, women are very powerful from the age of 18 to 35, 40. Because they get all the attention they want, they manipulate these things, they get what they want, all kind of things. But today the statistics say, over 45 women, over 52% of them are on antidepressants. Because at a certain age you need attention, beyond that age you need respect and comfort and a sensitive space. That is missing because you exercised your physical freedom too much, and later on you don't get this. Over 45 years of age, 52% are on antidepressants. Do you want to take this country there? In our families, women, irrespective of their age, are seriously respected. Right from my childhood, I can kick my brother in the face, but when it comes to the girls in the house, you cannot even refer to them in singular in our families. Rama, Poma, you must say. Rave means they'll slap you in the face. Yes, right from a very early age. So I'm saying this is very important for the feminine. Feminine will blossom only when there is a sensitive and comfortable atmosphere. You put her into hard running race all the time, okay, she may succeed, but her quality and her true the innate qualities of being feminine will not find expression, and she's not the loser, the world is the loser, isn't it? All sensitivity goes away, all beauty goes away, all aesthetics goes away. You just keep on looking at the stock market and it's going up, going on. Only some idiot will spend his life like that. Yes, you need beauty, you need sensitivity, you need aesthetics, you need all these things to make life complete. Just looking at the stock market is going up, going up, going up and you're happy, this is not going to work for long, you'll get sick of it.
Happy to know that not much to learn from elsewhere. Indians as it is know much. But then, Sadhguru, we should also look at some hard facts. Within our country, there are about 3.5 lakhs of crimes committed against women every year. And of course, more than half of them are domestic violences. In certain families where women are respected very well, as you said. The boys are taught to treat them with respect from the very childhood. But then despite all that, there are these huge crimes committed and most of them go unreported. So the reported crimes are about 3.5 lakhs, unreported God knows how many. And in our country, when a girl goes to report a crime, she herself is looked at as a criminal. She's a victim, but she herself is looked at as a criminal and treated very badly. And from Isha Foundation, you've been doing some wonderful work, working on the inner engineering of cells. Have you ever done anything to work with the criminals like these, or work with the seriously challenged people to change their system somehow and overall in general make the society more sensitive towards women and treating them with respect? Is Isha doing anything on that?
We have had over 2 decades of activity in the prisons in Tamil Nadu and some prisons in United States. This is called as the inner freedom for the imprisoned. This has worked miracles within the prison, but that won't make a big impact on the society. It is for those people who are trapped in the prison. But before labeling people as criminals and rapists and this and that, we must understand this. I want you to look at this sensitively. See, whether it's a male or a female, at a certain stage in their life, there is a certain hormonal influence and there are certain things happening. Knowing this, or whichever way, in the past we arranged it like this: by the time 15, 16, a girl starts getting married, or at least starts telling her, this is your man, this is what is going to happen to you, the boy starts looking at it from 16 and 18, 19, 20, he gets married. Today, because of our educational systems and the world structure itself is like that, girls are on an average in India getting married at 21, 22, boys are getting married at 26, 27, many of them are crossing 30 before they get married. Leave the educated and well-to-do, they may find some solutions for themselves. But the larger population, there's a huge migration happening from the village to the city. If this young boy who is a little, he knows a bit of… he knows how to connect 2 wires, means he's an electrician, he comes to the city. And he knows little carpentry, he comes to the city. A 17, 18-year-old boy comes to the city, which is a strange world, a brutal world. Don't think it's not brutal for a man. It's very brutal out there. When he comes from the village to the city, he's battered, he's thrashed, he's misused, everything happens to him also. Now, if he was in the village, his mother, his mausi, his somebody was constantly telling him, hey, you must marry this girl, you must marry that girl. I'm telling you, just a thought settles many things, that tomorrow or day after or next year I'm going to get married. He just lands in the city, he has nobody that he can call his own. He gangs up with 3, 4 boys and they have their own wild things going on. And of course, everybody has these stupid cell phones. They're smartphones, okay. Now they're watching all kinds of pornographic stuff on this, and he has no hope whether he will ever meet a woman in his life. I want you to understand this. And there are millions of them in every city. You have not trained them to be sages, all right? They're just regular boys. And at a drop of alcohol, the guy goes wild and he will do wild things. I am not trying to condone their activity, but I am saying, as a society, should we not debate? What should we do with this? It's a human problem, all right? We want to act like it doesn't exist. Well, it'll hit you in the face again and again. We want to act like human sexuality does not exist. Well, it's splashing in your face. When it splashes in your face, it's ugly. But is it not time? We must at least debate what are we going to do with it. If you want to handle this, they were getting married at 15, 16, 17, it was very easily settled. Now they're getting married at 30 maybe, and this guy has no hope who's come from village to city. How do you handle this? What is the way out of this? Should we not debate? I'm not saying you must do this or that. I'm saying, is it not time we give it some thought out of our humanity? Those of us who are all the best arrangements in our lives are different. These people who just to earn a living, they come from a maybe poor but comfortable atmosphere of the village to the harsh atmosphere of the city without any family support or anything. How do you handle these guys? You want to put them in concentration camps? Or do you want to provide them some kind of life? This is something you have to decide, isn't it? At least we must be willing to debate. Every time a terrible rape happens, we all scream and then we settle down after 3 days and go about our business. No, it's time to address it. How are we going to handle the hormonal tendencies of both male and female in this country? Because they're not getting married before 18. It's a crime. It's not just that they're not getting married, it is a crime to get married. If it is a crime, what is the solution? So that people can conduct their lives in a more sane manner, isn't it? It is something we must address.
True, more than the reactive measures that the governments usually take up once the crime is committed. The proactive measures to somehow cut this down and work with the society is what we should largely be looking at. I totally agree with that. And I truly appreciate the work of Isha Foundation, where you have taken up rural rejuvenation, which kind of cuts down the migration into cities and makes more happy living for the people in the rural segments. These are wonderful initiatives.
This is a simple thing, let me tell you. You must do this in Telangana because it's in your hands. I'm telling you, in every village, at least reasonable, let's say 5–10,000 population village, you must build multiplexes, cinema multiplexes with maybe just 80–100 seats per theatre. Just for this, a whole lot of people are coming to city, just know this. If you build a multiplex in the village and 5 just released movies are going on, believe me, they will stay right there, many of them.
Very true. We are already doing that, sir. In all the block headquarters in the bus stands, we are already building multiplexes.
This may look frivolous, but I'm telling you this is important.
It is a serious issue, and there needs to be some social life existing there as well. So that is why the government has taken up this stand, and we're doing that currently.
Sports complex, multiplex.
Yes. Both of them we have, and also we are working on the rural rejuvenation as the Isha is doing. But then, sir, again and again I keep coming back to the same question. But now this time I want to look at your world, the spiritual world. Is there a level playing field for men and women in your world? As in, we don't see as many female gurus, Just asking. I mean, is there a glass ceiling there as well? Somewhere they just don't get enough.
Let's understand this properly. You being a male or a female, essentially is of the body. Am I right? If you're talking spirituality, we're not talking about the body, we're talking about the inner nature of this life. So, one thing I want to say is, women can never get enlightened.
They're already enlightened.
They can assume but a man, it's impossible for him to be enlightened. Because if you're identified with your body parts, how will anything larger than body happen to you? If you're only identified with your body parts, how something beyond the body can ever happen to you? So the question is not whether you're a male or a female. The question is whether you're identified with your body parts or is it something beyond which is functioning within you. So, the question of you being a man or a woman doesn't even come into the picture. Now, If you look at any spiritual process happening, generally 60% female, 40% male. In that 40% also, 20% are there because there are so many females. Yes. So, generally always women have been more spiritually oriented. Maybe they did not become well known in the society as spiritual leaders, simply because you must understand, it's a question of transport and transmission. Because in ancient societies, a woman got pregnant. From 14 to 45, she was either constantly pregnant or breastfeeding a child. This was simply happening all the time. This was the natural process. Today we have a choice. This is the first time we have a choice about this, isn't it? Otherwise, it was simply happening. So she traveling long distances and teaching and becoming known in the world did not occur at that time. But these days some are coming, but I wish they had put in little more sadhana about themselves. In the Isha Foundation, in the Isha Yoga Center, and I did not do this by design because I don't look at them as men or women when I give them responsibilities, but somehow, though I'm very level in my head, in spite of that, I think nearly 70% of the positions are held by women. Not because I'm trying to promote women, I won't do that. I don't promote men or women, I just promote intelligent people.
Well, when we are in the same spiritual field, I had one more question, and this I got from my friends. When I said I was going to be in conversation with Sadhguru, please send me some questions. One critical question again. In this country we have many spiritual leaders, and some of them offer to be, of help in political issues. Like recently one guru said, I am going to mediate Ayodhya talks. Some other gurus make political comments. And some other spiritual leaders are heavily into charity. My friends wanted me to ask you this question. They said, why don't spiritual gurus leave the charity part to Bill Gates and go on with spiritual teachings? But are we, on a serious note, Sadhguruji, are we somewhere confusing our people? A spiritual leader is supposed to be spiritually enlightening people and not continuously crossing paths into charity sometimes, offering solutions sometimes, making a political comment sometimes. What is this all about? Is this more to be, more well-known, just create a controversy and be well-known, or what exactly is this?
I don't want to comment about any individual, but generally, whether you're political or spiritual, or you're in a commercial venture, or you're doing nothing, you're a citizen of this nation. You have rights and responsibilities of being in this country. Each person, according to his understanding of his rights and responsibility and his intelligence and capability, should act to better everything around us, because we are all benefiting from the platform of nationhood, isn't it? We are not living away from it. Just because I'm spiritual, I'm not walking in the sky, I'm still driving on the road. If the road is a mess, should I not talk about it? I'm asking. Right now we got stuck in the traffic for 10 minutes. It's so simple. There's not enough automobiles on the road for the road, the width of the road. But because everybody is driving so haphazardly, it is a mess. So should I not talk about it? Because it is impeding in my spiritual activity also, the traffic jam. So similarly, people are malnourished in the village, should I not talk about it? Because if they're malnourished, if they're not even eaten properly, should I talk to them about enlightenment? It's obscene, I will not do such things. When somebody is hungry, I will not go and tell them, you must get enlightened, that is the solution. No, I think he must be given fundamental thing to eat. So the question is about life. The question is not about area of function that you have chosen. If you want to enhance life, all aspects are involved. Somebody wants to get directly into political space, I would not do that. Not because I think it's wrong, simply because it doesn't agree with my aesthetics, that's all. My focus is elsewhere, my competence is elsewhere, so I focus on that. But Somebody wants to stand for election, let's say somebody who's wearing saffron clothes wants to stand for election, it's his prerogative. As a citizen of this India, he has the right to do that. I don't think we should get overly perturbed about these things. If he has earned people's respect, it will happen, otherwise it won't work. In all these things, are all spiritual people perfect people? Unfortunately, they're not. But it is not necessary to go on making this judgment. Let Bill Gates do it. You wait for Bill Gates to make $100 billion, then come and give it to you, it's just stupid. Everybody has to do the best they can do, wherever they can do, only then something will happen. You want an American business success to come to India and do charity for you, you must be ashamed even to say that. Every one of us, whether you can help 1 or 10 or 100 or 1,000,000 is just a question of your capability, but everybody must do what is needed in the society, isn't it?
Not very taken aback by commenting or understanding or being a little political. I would like to ask you one more question. What do you think about women's reservation? Do you think we should have 33% women's reservation? And you have worked on something called as Rally for Rivers, which is essentially a policy matter, but since you feel very strongly about rivers, you have gone across many states and propagated this idea, influenced many policymakers. In the similar way, what would you think about 33% women's reservation? Would you also take up a rally for women's reservation if necessary and support all the women?
If we understand democracy, democracy means people choose who they want. You once again want people to choose based on their gender or their caste or their creed or their religion. Please understand this. When Ambedkar made the reservations, he made it very clear it is for a limited period of time because they're historically disadvantaged. Historically, people have been disadvantaged, we have to bring them to level playing field and after that there should be no reservation of any kind. Why this is so is, the fundamental ethos of democracy is, just anybody can stand up and become a leader. Whether you have male body parts or female body parts, it should not matter, you are supposed to have some brains. And you can get there and do what you want. This is what democracy means. Already we have divided the country, if you are this caste, you have reservation, if you have that caste, you have reservation. In the election arena, there should be no reservation of any kind, even in jobs and education, if you help them a bit, getting elected should be only by endearing yourself to the people and making sense to the people. That should be the only way. Because you're a woman, because you're a man, you got elected. I don't think that's a right way to go. This is a very reactionary step. I know it's a popular step because 50% of the vote is women's and you can please them and win an election by saying these things, but you are hitting at the fundamentals of democracy.
Sadhguruji, as you said, Ambedkar, when he introduced reservations, he wanted it because there was no level playing field. And don't you believe Indian women don't have level playing field and that is why they deserve reservations? Because the fundamental question is that we have not been allowed to come out of houses, and you gave a very historical background in your other interviews where you said because of various factors, mothers, daughters were hidden away and we still continue to be in some, societies. So don't you think we don't have a level playing field and that is why women should be promoted with reservations in politics or education or jobs?
See, there is something called as the evolution of a society. We are only, as a nation, we are only 70 years of age. In these 70 years, we must understand how we became a nation, first of all. When we got our independence in 1947, we did not have a commercial infrastructure, a physical infrastructure, no proper governing systems, nothing really to make a nation. And above all, the country was broken into 3 pieces. Over 500,000 people killed. Over 6 to 8 million people migrated. An enormous stress. Still there are people There are still people who migrated across from there to here and here to there, both sides I'm saying, who are still in refugee camps after 70 years. So that stress was not easy to handle. So first 50 years, we just went into survival mode. Somehow to survive, we did desperate things to survive. All the policies that we have made in the first 50 years, we have to relook at it carefully now, because that was done in a survival mode, desperate. How to make this nation stand together, that was the struggle. Only in the last 20 years, we're in the developmental mode. And in the last 20 years, don't you think, even for the women in this country, there's been a huge change? Yes or no, please? Just that's all. You just continue on the same path, another 10-15 years you will see there will be a level playing field. For this you bring a politically popular policy of bringing reservation to women, then you will… you believe me, you will make men and women into enemies. When I don't get my job because somebody gets a job because she's a woman, simply it will create such animosity. This level playing field is very much on the way. It is already happening in a huge way, it will happen. But one thing we must understand, nature has entrusted a larger responsibility with a woman. As you said, you go home and take care of the children, this. But I want to tell you, I don't go home and take care of any children. I am working till 1 a.m., 2 a.m. in the morning. So obviously I am putting in 5-6 hours extra compared to you when you're petting your children, right? So naturally, I may be more productive, not because I am more capable maybe both of us are equally capable, but I am able to put in 5-6 hours extra in my work, which will definitely set me up in that front. That doesn't make you any less because you're doing something more significant, because you're manufacturing the next generation of people. That's not a small thing. So I'm saying, constantly we are trying to make judgments based on economic parameters. Don't do that. Not just for a man or not just for a woman, even for the man, do not make economic parameter as the value of that man or woman. Then I am zero value, I haven't earned a rupee in the last 35 years. What's my value? Nothing. I'm worse than even a village woman because I have not earned a rupee. Even a landless woman, she earns some rupees. I have not earned a rupee, so am I nothing? So don't set commercial value for everything. Life has other values.
Absolutely not. As you right now just put in that you have extra 5-6 hours because a woman takes care of the children.
Yes.
And since I'm a woman, I'm losing that 5-6 hours a day. I deserve reservation is what I say. But you should really rethink on these issues.
You must also…
You should really rethink on these issues.
See,
Nothing is commercially… I'm sorry to interrupt you. Nothing is commercially valued here. But the essence of energy and time women loses in taking care of the family is simply not able to…
Can I have a 30% reservation in the labor ward? Hello? Can I also have that fulfillment of delivering a baby? Will you give me that 30% reservation?
That is not under me. Nature didn't give you, so as men you just have to live with that. We are special.
See, please, I want you to listen to this carefully, all the ladies. This is not against the women. Please understand this. We must evolve a society so that women can play equal role in almost everything. But if you try to force it, believe me, a woman will suffer in the end. That will be the consequence. We must evolve the society. The best thing is education. In education, there is no disparity. Right now, girl students are doing way better than the boys. So this will settle it in the next 10-15 years. Right now, let's not make a politically populistic reservation for everything reservation. In the end, who is not reserved? Everybody's got their own reservation. So what will happen is, with reservation, competence will get hit. If competence gets hit, you will suffer, I will suffer, everybody will suffer. Ultimately, it's only human competence which rules, and that's how it should be.
Serious area compared to, with respect to women and child development, etc. Internationally, there is this huge discussion about setting some goals, Millennium Development Goals, You've also spoken at the United Nations. When you speak there, when you interact with these world leaders, how committed are they to fulfill these goals? Because very often we've seen many leaders have missed these targets. They've not invested enough in women and children and their health. And when you went there, when you interacted with them, what do you believe should be truly done in terms of commitment of these global leaders?
So this is a complex situation, it's not as simplistic as we think. In different countries, in different cultures, these levels of disparities and the struggles are very different. Let's say you go to Africa. In Africa, women have more share of the work than men because men are drunk, okay? They have more share of the work. But a large number of men have managed to get guns in their hands. So what is an economic power? Because they have no share of that, the men, they've gone for military power, which is easy. Now you just have to have a gun. In many of these societies, it's become like this. Women are doing all the agricultural work, taking care of cattle, children, works, everything. Men are just carrying guns and walking around. Because he has a gun, he gets more than his 50% of share. So please understand this. This is how societies will adjust themselves. If you try to force something, the reverse that comes back will not be a good thing. So now from Africa, if you move to Arabia, you can't touch it because it's religious. You can't talk about the woman. Nobody talks about it. You talk about it, you may be dead. So from there you come to Europe, it's a different situation where everybody can do what they want, but are women very happy? No, they are not. Because of all this excessive talk about equality, nobody wants to be together. Nobody wants to get right now they're saying below 30 years of age, the number of people unmarried is over 70%, okay? Nobody wants to marry. I want you to understand, nobody wants to marry means no man is willing to commit himself to a woman. He wants her when he wants her, when he doesn't want her, he doesn't want her. There's no commitment. When this happens, as time goes by for the woman in her life, this is going to become a major problem. When she's young, maybe it doesn't matter. As time goes by, it becomes a serious problem. Then you come to India, here because of, widespread poverty is there. Let's not sit in Hyderabad or Mumbai and think we're doing great, all right? Not even 1% of this country's population can sit in an atmosphere like this. So we can't suddenly believe we are in some la-la land, we are not. There are harsh situations out there. For those very harsh situations, believe me, neither men nor women are having a great time, all right? For that kind of situation, I believe there is substantial parity between men and women in the villages. There is a certain cohesiveness. They're not thinking, I'm being exploited, this. Unless a man becomes a drunkard or violent for some reason, this can happen always. We don't have to paint the entire society with that small percentage. But it's the governments which want to sell alcohol to everybody, they want to do door delivery. Happening in Tamil Nadu, almost door delivered, you can order. It's not far, you can order on Amazon, you want your packet of Iraq in the evening, they will deliver it in a drone and your man gets drunk. Then things happen, he gets violent. So I'm saying, it is not like a one-off thing. If we want a healthy society, we must create the ecosystem for a healthy society. People who believing for everything you can do a surgical intervention is a cruel way of handling a society. We need to create a society with substantial economic well-being, education. Then, if somebody is still ill-treating a woman, then you have to deal with him with law. For everything you bring one more law, one more law, one more law, then your home will be like a court. Every day arguments will happen between two lawyers which will never come to a conclusion.
You haven't answered my question about the commitment of the global leaders for working on true change.
Okay, this is a complex situation. Global leaders want to look at that one single thing that will transform the entire world. That's what I was trying to say. These different societies need very close attention. You cannot pass a law and say, or you cannot say, this is it. What works in Africa must work in Arabia, it's not going to work. What works in Arabia should work in India, it's not going to work. We have to handle it at the local level. Global leaders can give a direction and intentions, but work has to be very local, very organic and very involved. See, what all this means is, can United Nations give us a solution? What this means is, we are looking for a solution without our own involvement in it. Without involvement, there is no life. Without involvement, there are no solutions. Without involvement, there's no emancipation of the human being. We have to get involved with all the little problems that we have around us, how we bring up our girls, how we bring up our boys. This is where it is, the freedom. It is not in just bringing one more law and one more law.
Wonderful. My last question to you, Sadhguruji, and then we open the floor for questions, I believe. This one is basically a day-to-day issue for all the women and men also. Anybody who's successful, anybody who's…
I'm glad men are included in something.
You know, it's a final question, so I had to include them somewhere.
Look at that, you got to put them somewhere.
So anybody who's successful, there's usually hundreds of enemies within, and usually in Telugu there is a saying, you know, Adadaniki adade shatru ani. When a woman becomes more successful, it is not the other men first, but the other women who become more jealous is what they say. And then there are these huge controversies, huge negative things spoken about most successful women all the time. And it has been spoken about you also, being a Sadhguru also, you have… there's many things floating about you.
I have no time to listen to the gossip, so I'm…
So kindly address this issue. How does one person who's successful in reaching a certain level, how does they cope up with all these negativities in their workplace?
You made a very anti-woman statement just now. That is, women are the enemies of women. But that is not… that's a… culturally it's been said for a long time, but I want you to correct that, because when men have male enemies, we don't think it's something peculiar. But when women have women's enemies, we think it's something peculiar. Because somewhere you're trying to unionize women, don't do that. Within the union, somebody is fighting her, that's what you're saying. But men have male enemies, don't they? But we think, oh, men are fighting against men, we don't think so. But women are fighting against women, we think so, because you have mentally, you've become unionized. Don't do this. It's very, very important that we see we are one species, and if this species has to be well, all dimensions of this species must be well, there is simply no other way. And about success and somebody talking, if nobody talks about your success, you will be unhappy. You want somebody to talk about it. Different people have different languages to employ, so they will employ those… according to their vocabulary, they will describe your success. But at least you're not being ignored, you're being discussed. Now, about people saying about me, I am the greatest example because there is nothing that's not been said about me. If you want to hear a few things, I have destroyed an
Your favorite ones.
entire rainforest I have destroyed. Where was that forest? Nobody knows. I have killed 100 elephants myself. And everybody knows I don't have weapons, so with my bare hands, I killed 100 elephants, okay? And I've stolen 7,000 kidneys. Then I corrected them, it's 7 million, it's not 7,000. Like this we can go on. None of this 25 years they go on talking about the same thing. They can't make one all of them are crimes, all right? You can't make one goddamn thing stick. Because there are some people, unfortunately they're running small political parties also. No really, they're running small political establishments, they are leaders without followers. So they are constantly campaigning. And unfortunately, certain religious groups are actively involved in this. It is being funded. We know clearly, we've identified, the police know, the intelligence know, everybody's know, because there were some threats that came after that, all these things were investigated. One dirty lawyer and one dirty journalist hired for our sake, full-time, last 10, 12 years he's on a payroll, and the only work he does is write about us, okay?
You're very popular.
What you're doing is significant enough. All these things don't matter. If they impede your work, you will take some action. Otherwise, see, it's dog's pleasure to bark, okay? Even if Shiva walks your street, dogs will bark, isn't it? What about it? In no way, because somebody is praising me, it doesn't change me in any way. Somebody is saying dirty things about me, it doesn't change me in any way. So for me, it doesn't matter. Only if it affects the flow of my work, only then I act. Otherwise, everybody is free to talk. They can go on the Facebook and say what they want to say, or they can tell their neighbors, depending on their technological capabilities. There's really no problem. So everybody should understand it's not only from outside, even within the organization, people come to me because it's a volunteer organization. So, Sadhguru, I can't work with this lady, she's impossible. I tell them, see, in this world, this is the kind of people we have, this is how they are. If you think what you're doing is significant, you must learn to work with this one, that one, that one, that one and that one. If you want to work with ideal people, you must go to heaven, and today.
Thank you so much, thank you so much. Do you want to take over from here?
No,
Okay.
we didn't get…
Thank you. To all the FICCI Flow members, as always, you do organize wonderful events, and indeed a pleasure. Bring more and more wonderful people to Hyderabad and make more and more beautiful events. The government and myself, we are always there to support you. Thank you.
Economic well-being. Please see how the entire nation, in our generation, not some future date after few centuries, in our generation, entire nation, there must be a possibility that they can eat like you, they can dress like you, they can sit in the atmospheres that you can sit. And it doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman, all human beings should be in a state of well-being. What we think is good for us, should we not make it happen to everybody? Please make that happen, because you are the privileged few who are able to sit in atmospheres like this, dress like this, eat like the way you're eating and live the way you're living. What you think is good, you must intend for everybody, isn't it? Please make that happen.
Just like that, and it is my nature to be like this, truly said our mystic Sadhguruji. We are blessed, we are elated, we are feeling eclectic with your presence, Sadhguruji. Thank you, Ms. Kavita, for the wonderful conversation. Ms. Kavita has got a gift. We will now present green certificates to our honorable guests. This is…
Sadhguruji, just to inform you, we at FICCI Flow, we have taken up the cause of saving our environment, and this is a small step, token of gratitude, what we plant 50 trees to 100 trees in the name of our speakers.
Rakhi Kankaria will take the autograph from K. Kavita.
I extend a profound gratitude to you for taking out your valuable time today to address